start.
So good morning, everyone. Super excited. Terry Miller, Integrated Presidential, and I'm coming here to you live from Bozeman, Montana, which, it's our summer months, and we, travel around and get to live our integrated life. So that is kind of fun, and I'm excited to be here with Brian Drollinger and Dave Blanchard for our second in a series of 3. So Brian, how excited are you Dave's first 2-hour presentation to us was unbelievable. How excited are you for number 2?
Oh, I'm really excited. In fact, I was able to talk to Dave a little bit yesterday, and he shared some of the things he's going to be talking about today. And I was just, I'm very excited. It's going to help a lot of people, I think, and I'm ready for him to start.
I am too. And so for everybody on the line, if you had not got the opportunity to listen to the first in the series, it was sent to you via email. The recording was in there. This one will be on the same recording link, so you won't need a new one if you missed it, or you want to listen to it again or share it with others. That's on there. But it was kind of funny because Dave brought many, just some ideas about being open to change, open to a variety of different things in his first presentation, and he was speaking in theory because he also did not know of our rebranding and as we're moving towards Optavia, and he just helped really prepare us for as we're moving and thinking and growing. And Dave, I'd really kind of like to set you more up that way too today, is for all the people on the line. You know what? We're human beings. We're becoming, and when we can keep our mind open and not have a fixed mindset, be open to the possibility of anything, and that is when we will be in secure relationship with people and really be able to move ourselves forward and other people forward. And Dave's got some great things for you to think about. So if I could ask you all to be as fully present as you can. I'm sure many of you have little munchkins just waking up with their sleepy eyes and everything. But if I could ask you to be fully present and just really listen, take in these 2 hours for you. He's going to say some wise words, and some you're going to go, oh, wow, woza. Didn't even think how much that really resonated with me. So, Brian, no further ado, Dave Blanchard?
Yes, let's bring on Dave. Dave? Oh, you're you're on mute still.
I am not now. Here we are.
All right.
Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Brian. I remember, Terry, when we had this first conversation about the possibility of doing these 3 events with Brian totally on board and the support. And thank you, both of you, from the bottom of my heart, and for all the other leaders in the group who are a part of promoting this so that we can teach correct principles. I have permission to share this with you. Each evening, Ramona and I get together and we talk about the day and life and get regrounded. Well, the other night, it was Tuesday night, we were in the car driving over to see my mother. My mother is in hospice and having a kind of a tough time. And I could tell Ramona was just a little emotional, just a little frazzled. And again, I do have permission to share this with you because Ramona is an amazing, powerful woman, great mother, grandmother, elegant, gracious, very professional. But I could see she was a little rattled, and I asked her to share with me what's happening. And she'd had a couple of experiences that day, one where she wanted to talk to somebody and talked herself out of talking to somebody, and then another situation that didn't turn out as well as she'd like in her work as a health coach with Take Shape for Life. And we got done listening. I got done listening, and she asked if I had any ideas. I want you to know that when Ramona and I talk about these Take Shape for Life issues, we, the 2 of us, go back to the principles we're going to talk about today. We go back to the principles. Because anytime we're not feeling grounded in life, we know that we're not living the principles. So we go back and revisit the principles. And I remember Ramona going, I feel grounded. And the next day, she just tore it up. It was so exciting, so proud of her for taking on her fears and her doubts. And that's part of this process. I just want you to know that's where we go. Second of all, we did have a convention in between the first and the second session. Was that fun? Now, I hope you can see it in my face. I'm down 10 pounds since convention. I'm hoping the bars get in soon because I've got 2 of those left, but the mac and cheese, and oh my goodness, I am having so much fun being in fat burn. The Optavia concept, did that get anybody excited? To have your own channel. This is going to be your unique program. That was so exciting. And the fuelings are just at a whole new dimension. Now I'm waiting for the new bars. I'm eating the chewy ones again. And all of a sudden I'm enjoying them more than I did before because I was suffering from food fatigue. It's just wonderful to have this new variety of tastes and a new vision. What's been most exciting is working with clients at Take Shape for Life who privately had some questions they just couldn't quite talk about. They couldn't quite define. And when the Optavia presentation opened up and when the new fuelings opened up, it was like, oh, that's what I was concerned about. That's what was holding me back. That was stopping me from just jumping in with both feet and taking this on with a new level of enthusiasm. I hope you're feeling the same way. I hope you're feeling the same way. I was reflecting in preparation for today. At age 16, it was an interesting year. I got really clear about my life mission. My life mission was to heal torn bodies and torn minds. Heal torn bodies and torn minds. I'd torn mine up enough by then. And everything that I did through life prepared me for this moment in time, even today. Your mission is healthy body, healthy mind. Isn't that interesting? And healthy finances. We've been tracking for so long. I'm coming to you with an absolute desire this morning. I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning, just sitting here thinking about you. I want to inspire you. That means to breathe life into you. I want to encourage you, add to your courage, heart, your heart for French. I want to add to your courage to stretch and grow and become. I want to help you gain greater clarity about some of the things that might get in the way because life shows up. And how can we view them differently, see them for what they are, and not be discouraged by those things, but see them as opportunities to grow? How can we gain that clarity? And lastly, for you to go into massive action. One of our coaches the other day used a phrase I want to share with all you: becoming weapons of mass creation. I love that. Weapons of mass creation. Let us become weapons of mass creation. One other thing. Something happened yesterday that was fun. Ramona was visiting with the wife of one of our Augmandino coaches to share the program and found out she'd already talked to one of our other Augmandino coaches. I just want you to know how this works inside the Augmandino organization. Our director of education, we have an entire division that focuses on schools, teachers, administrators, students. She's in the middle of negotiating a contract with an organization that represents over 700 charter schools worldwide. She is also a manager in Take Shape for Life. Ramona helped her get on program. She had such a great experience. People want to know what she was doing, and she's helping them and having a great experience as a Take Shape for Life coach. In 2 weeks, we're going to have our couples retreat at the cabin, the first one of 2 this summer. I think there's a Take Shape for Life coach coming to that, which is very exciting. On Friday night, we'll have an esthetician who pampers the women. Saturday, there'll be a massage therapist teaching couples massage during the day on intimacy. Tiff, our esthetician, is a Take Shape for Life coach. She's had incredible experiences in her own transformation and is now sharing with other people. She's on fire. She's on time to become an ED. It's very exciting. Her husband, who's been trained as an Og Mandino coach for years, has decided to join her in growing her business. You see, if you're ever looking for greener grass, Take Shape for Life is the greener grass. This is one of the most exciting opportunities we've ever seen. When I say I've looked for you for 15 years, we have, because you epitomize. And when Optavia becomes the name, the brand, that last little piece in place, you'll be everything that I know a person should be looking for. Something with meaning and purpose, with a program that has predictable results. You walk by someone's side and create them. You can inspire them to then pay it forward and pass these skills, transfer these skills to help them help others help others. The natural outcome is real money in a bank account with which you can buy a real couch. It's the outcome. It's not the focus. You're not here to travel the beaches of the world, but isn't it fun that Terry was sharing with us this morning, this integrated life? To be able to take 7 days for David to do what he loves most and ride a bicycle. And Terry, I must tell you, when you were sharing 80 miles a day, I'm thinking when Ramona and I go on a bike ride, I put on 2 padded shorts so I can handle the seat, and I'm still sore for a day. Wow, how exciting. He's going to ride 80 to 100 miles a day. You get to travel with him and live in tents at night. What an exciting thing to be able to do, to have an integrated life where you can have that kind of balance. I want to emphasize, Take Shape for Life is the greener grass. You're here. Now, are there some potholes? Are there some glue buckets? Oh yeah, there isn't everything. But here, when we find the courage to take on our fear, our doubt, that internal dialogue, when we find that courage, it's worth it. The results are worth it in your life, in the life of others, and frankly, in your bank account. I've always viewed money as a way to buy opportunity, to expand your life and that of your children. It's a beautiful thing. Now, if we worship money, that's probably not that healthy. But to have it available, that buys opportunity. Wow, healthy body, healthy mind, healthy finances. Well, in principles, today we want to start with a topic called stress. We're leading to connection with people. That's where we're headed. But it's important we first talk about stress. There is a movie out, came out last Christmas, if I remember correctly, about Joy Mangano. Joy. If you haven't seen this movie, it's just called Joy. I want to encourage you to go down to your local video store. I don't know if it's on Netflix yet or not, but pick up the movie Joy and watch it. And if you can do it before the day's over, do. It's a story, about 50% of it's true, and the other 50% the director took from other powerful women. Joy had a tremendous run. She built an empire on QVC and Home Shopping Network. The price she paid to do it, watch the movie. But the most important piece in that movie for me was that she kept having a reoccurring dream. And her little girl, when she was a little girl, was in the dream talking to her and telling her that 17 years ago, she decided to hide. She decided to hide. And she hid all of her gifts and all of her talents and all of her creativity. And then finally, one day, she made the decision to live. She made the decision to embrace those gifts, to engage in life. Now, the story is so true in that she didn't have instant success. Matter of fact, she met with all kinds of challenges, but she persisted. She persevered. She was resilient. She was so awakened to what she wanted to create, nothing was going to stop her. As Og said, I will keep my eyes on the goal above my head, ignore the obstacles at my feet, for I know where dry desert ends, green grass grows. She pushed, and her success is true in the story. Tremendous success. Go get the movie Joy and ask yourself 2 questions. Have I been hiding? Have I been hiding? And what caused me to hide? Was it a bad relationship? Was it a financial setback? What's been causing me to hide? Now, what might life be like if I chose to live? What might be? And then make the choice. I want to give you some very specific guidelines in this, because you'll choose to live and then you will reach out and connect with people. 2, I want to invite you to go to YouTube and watch a video. It's by Kelly McGonigal. Kelly McGonigal. A powerful little 16-minute video on the subject of stress. Kelly is a health psychologist. She was trained at Stanford. Just a brilliant human being, and can make the complex very simple. And she starts off her TED Talk by saying, I must apologize because the last 10 years I've been teaching that stress is a bad thing. Damage to the immune system, the cardiovascular system. A new study, an interesting study. In this study, they asked people 2 questions. What's the level of stress that you're experiencing? And 2, do you view that stress as harmful or helpful? Then they followed those people for like 5 or 8 years. And what they discovered, those who viewed stress as harmful had a 43% increase or in risk of death, 43% increase. Those with the highest levels of stress who viewed stress as helpful had the lowest percentage of risk for death, the lowest percentage. They viewed that pounding heart as delivering more blood to their system and to their brain, the heavy breathing, more oxygen. And as a result, instead of having their vessels constrict, they stayed wide open. And they experienced the same emotional, physiological response that we have when we're experiencing courage or experiencing joy. In our society today, there is a belief that stress is a bad thing. And so we seek to have a less stressful life, an easier life. She went on to say that not only is it the biology of courage, I love that phrase, but she said that when we're in stress, we release oxytocin. Now we know this neurohormone, oxytocin, is also called the hug drug. It attracts us to people. And if we would, in stress, focus on serving others, isn't that a key? When we're feeling stress, we focus on serving others because we can have a heightened awareness of what they're experiencing. The oxytocin actually heals damage to our heart. It makes us more resilient. So as we go into these principles today, the question is, do we want to live a life that's less stressful, that's easier, less painful? I often say, as I said in our last discussion, not on this planet, wrong planet. What happens is we'll view stress as harmful. We'll have a 43% greater risk of death And we'll leave this planet too early, prematurely. That's not what we're looking for. However, should we choose to live a life of significance, we'll see stress as something that's helpful, and we'll take courage, and we'll do things that will ultimately create joy. Let us no longer avoid stress. Let's just, in our mind, think of it differently. Because she said the way we think about it is how it impacts our body for good or for ill. At the end of her TED Talk, I don't want to take all of the wind out of her sail. The moderator comes up and says, okay, so we've got a choice between a stressful job and a less stressful job. Which should we take? And I thought, take shape for life. She could have said it, but the way she said it was this: choose the one with the most meaning. Choose the one with the most meaning. You have the greener grass. You want to help America, and now, as Dr. A said, the world healthy. You want to get the world healthy. Oh my goodness. Could there be a greater gift, a better way to spend one's life than helping people create a healthy body, a healthy mind, and healthy finances? This is the greener grass. The only thing that's going to stop us is wanting a life of ease. I'm writing a new book. It's called Becoming an Entrepreneur, the First 3 Critical Decisions. I gave you one of them last time. Choose to hire yourself. Well, I was at a convention at an event, and when I got out, I was walking out, and a gentleman walked by my side, and he was a little emotional. And if you're on the call, thank you for sharing this. I had something I want to share with you because it didn't come to me in the moment. He said, you shared in the last session that we want to hire ourselves. And I became very introspective and discovered I wouldn't want to hire me. Now I'm chuckling because it's more cathartic. He wasn't chuckling. He was emotional. I want to say to him and to all of us, when we become aware, we may not want to hire ourselves. We may not want to hire ourselves. But that's our only choice. And it's the reason why we engage in self-improvement. See, most self-improvement initiatives are about improving a person's circumstances. When we understand these 3 critical decisions, we understand the purpose of self-improvement is to improve that internal dialogue so that we can show up more healthy and more whole in the service of another person. Now, as we do that, the natural consequence, our circumstances will change. You'll be able to go on 7-day bike rides and not miss a heartbeat. But it starts with improving ourselves. Well, I want to share these 3 critical decisions with you. Because if we don't make these, I'm going to quote from the book. I said, we have the risk of stepping off the curb of employment with a suitcase packed and overflowing with unrealistic expectations, only to be hit by the Greyhound bus of current reality. So here are the 3 critical decisions. Decision number 1. I choose to become the boss. Now, if we've been in employment and had a boss, or we've been at home and our career has been raising children, and it's a little chaotic, and maybe we've had a spouse that thought they were the boss. In either case, when we make the choice to step into Take Shape for Life, part-time or full-time, we're going to want to make the decision to become the boss. Success or failure is up to me. I will command. I will command, as Og says, and I will obey my own command. I'm going to become the boss. You see, when we become entrepreneurs, we don't get to go without a boss. We just change who the boss is. It's no longer that person who's been commanding us, directing us, telling us what to do. We are now telling ourselves we're our own boss. Now, I've got a whole chapter coming on that. 2. It's the one I shared last time. When we become the boss, we make that conscious decision. We become acutely aware of this dialogue we're having with ourselves about how we'd like our life to be, how our life is actually showing up, how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about other people, how we feel about the tasks that need to be done, how do we feel about the structure, that dialogue. When we become aware of that dialogue, what do we discover? Because the first person we'll hire is ourself. Now, this isn't schizophrenia, it's called metacognition. I step back and reflect on my own habits of thinking. We bring our habits of thinking into the business. It's our first employee. And those thoughts impact our emotional state, the decisions we make, the actions we take, the results we create. This is our most critical employee. What are those thought processes? That's why we're encouraging everyone to take a free intentional creation assessment on ogmandino.com. Start to get familiar with what this dialogue is trying to get you to do. And once you know this, I will command and I will obey my own command. That's what Og's been trying to tell us since 1967. These bad habits, he calls them the unlocked door to failure. Unlocked. In other words, we can walk in there so simply. But good habits of thinking are the locked door to success. And principles are the key to unlock that door. And we can walk into that one too, but we want the key. So number 2, choose to hire yourself. Now, if you're feeling stress, if your heart's pumping a little bit and you're breathing a little bit hard, just go, wow, it's delivering more blood to my body to take this on, to have courage and to experience the joy from having that courage. It's pumping more oxygen into my brain, so it's more acute, it's more awake, it's more alert, it's more aware. Because the third one, decision, improve myself. James Allen said, let a man radically alter his thoughts. He'll be astonished at the rapid transformation it will affect in the material conditions of his life. That was written at the beginning of the last century, so it's not politically correct, but true. If we radically alter these thoughts, we become aware of them and we choose to change them, we will be astonished at the rapid transformation it will affect in the material conditions of our life, the healthy finances. So that's the impetus for self-improvement. See, entrepreneurs understand that improvement is not the accumulation of knowledge, it's the application. They read books to expand their minds. They hire coaches to help them miss glue buckets and potholes. They go to trainings like this. We are here. Here we are. We're entrepreneurs. We're here. But this is not self-improvement. This is preparing us for those pivotal moments in our life when we make a different decision. That's when we improve. We improve in the pivotal moment, not in the seminar, not in the convention, not in the training, not in the coaching, not when we're reading the book. That is all preparation for the improvement. So now we know why we're here. We're here to prepare, to take action, and in that action, in those pivotal moments, make a different decision. When we're sitting at the car dealership, and the person who's taking care of us we've known for a long time, and he's put on a lot of weight. And we're thinking, wow, I wonder what's going on. We're in the waiting room, and he comes up to the vending machine and gets some really high-carb crackers and turns to us and says, I probably shouldn't be eating these. Ooh, verbal hint. What's our dialogue saying? What's it saying? Oh, he probably wouldn't want to talk to me. Who do I think I am? He doesn't want to be bothered. And all that dialogue. We hear it in the pivotal moment. We say, I will command and I'll obey my own command. And we get his phone number. It may not be the best time to talk about it right now. He's got lots of customers. Get a phone number and permission to call, and then we call. We do the follow-up. We do the follow-up, even if our thought process is saying something different. Hi, John. This is Dave. I was at the dealership yesterday. Yeah, I remember. Remember when you walked into the break room and you took out those crackers and you turned to me and said, I shouldn't be eating these? Yeah. You probably noticed that I've lost a lot of weight lately. And I've been having an amazing experience in my life. So much so that I've decided to dedicate my life to helping others experience what I'm experiencing. Can we talk about it? And then just listen. Can you hear this dialogue? How often does this dialogue, this person we're going to want to hire, talk us out of doing the very things that will grow our business, that will put us in a place where we can walk by someone's side and bless their life and inspire them to do it to the next one and the next one? We don't build a business, we build people. We build people. And we build people by connecting with the people. So as we go into this section on connecting with people, we want to be very conscious. If I made the decision to hire myself, and prior to that, have I made the decision to be the boss? Am I ready to command and obey my own command? Doesn't matter where you are. You may have lost weight and put some back on. I did. I did. And I got really honest about some habits of health. Really honest about some thought processes. I am commanding, and I'm now obeying my command in this area. Now I'm human. One day at a time, right? Commanding, obeying my command. Doesn't matter where you are. You get to make the decision to be the boss. People can feel the energy when you show up in it. And then choose to hire yourself. Because if you put the weight back on, what you know is that thought process talked you out of being on program. Your thought process. Become the boss of the thought. I will command. And then we're going to start the process of learning principles, practices, processes, so that in those pivotal moments we can hear that dialogue and make a different decision. And when we radically alter this thought, we will be astonished at the rapid transformation it will affect in the material conditions of your life. Okay. Everybody okay so far? You want to have some fun? Now, you may have friends or family or children around. They may think you're going crazy. But I want you just for a moment to just go inside yourself and feel what it's like to make the decision to be the boss. If you're spiritual and religious, this isn't at the exclusion of God. I happen to believe in God. And I happen to believe that one of the things he wants us to do is to become self-directed, to take charge. I said this last time. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And his response is generally, do something. Do something. Can you feel it? Now, you don't need to be spiritual to do this. This is an internal, in the fibers of your being. If you want to say it out loud, do it out loud. I choose to become the boss. I want you to hear the words coming out of your mouth. I choose to become the boss. Feel it at a visceral level. Make that choice today to become the boss, whether you're doing part-time, full-time. And what you'll discover when you're here in that space, you'll bring that to your family, you'll bring that to your current job. Choose to be the boss. Make sure you've got your assessment. If you've taken it, pull it out when we get done today. Take a look at it. Read it. Wow, what are these thought processes wanting me to do? Well, I'm going to command, and they're going to obey my command. I'm going to start learning principles, practices, and processes so that in those pivotal moments, I can hear this and I can make the shift. I'm going to choose to hire myself. Right now, I want you to say, I become the boss. We got a chat room going. If you want to jump on there and say that, I choose to become the boss. Make the commitment today. This isn't hyperbole. This is critical. Because if we haven't made this choice, the baseball bat of life is going to take its swings and it's going to hurt. And we're going to be discouraged and frustrated. Choose to become the boss and choose to hire yourself. Then look at self-improvement from a totally different perspective. I'm not trying to change circumstances. I'm changing me. And as I change, this dialogue shifts. Everything in my life shifts. My relationships, my finances, my health. Okay? I made some notes this morning. I'm going to get back on track. Are we okay so far? We getting it? Oh, yes, I can see it coming across. I choose to be the boss. And it's become, because we're going to become. We're human. We're going to have moments when we wake up in the morning and we're not there. But tomorrow morning and the next morning and the next morning and the next morning, when you wake up, very first thing, two things. One, I'm the boss. I will command and I'll obey my own command. I choose to hire myself to take on these thought processes and become increasingly aware in pivotal moments when I'm on the phone thinking about a lead, making a list, doing the simple system. I'm going to choose to hire myself and I'm going to choose to improve myself. I'm going to hear that dialogue, and if it's not serving me, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it. I have the power to do that. Our brain has neuroplasticity. It's malleable. We very literally, in moments of consciousness, can make a different choice and in time create a new neural pathway, a new habit of thinking. And when we do, the brain is so kind, it synaptically prunes. It prunes off the old habit. Boom, gone. We wake up one morning and going, I used to be discouraged. I'm excited. Wow, am I okay? Yeah, I choose to be the boss. I choose to hire myself. And now I know why I'm engaging in improvement and what I'm focused on in that improvement. Because I'm working to shift my dialogue so that it will serve me. Okay. Now, I want you to draw a 10-mile radius around you. I'll say this to you many times, I'm sure, as we visit. But put a 10-mile radius around you. Now as the boss, hiring yourself, wanting to improve this dialogue. How many people are there in a 10-mile radius? Now, I know a couple of you are in ranches in Montana, but the closest city, just 10-mile radius. I've said this before, but now from this new seat, you're sitting in the observer's chairs where you are. Can you feel it? How many people last night went to sleep devastated? Women particularly. Husband hasn't touched them in months. They think it's about this. They woke up this morning, Saturday morning, took a shower and looked in the mirror and said some of the most awful things. Then they went in the closet and they dressed to try to look skinny, trying to hide what they saw in the mirror. Can you feel them? Our greatest challenge is that we're often stuck in what's going on in our world, our life, our pain, our struggle. Can we see theirs? The first principle in connection is to have agape love. It's a heightened level of awareness. It's to be able to draw this circle, this radius, and to feel. These aren't names and addresses. These are human beings. Can we feel them? Do we see it as our mission to find them? Wherever they might be. The grocery store, the bank, in a women's club, at church, where might they be? Are we looking for targets? Or are we looking for people we can serve? We want to develop agape love. Now, to help you in that, I've talked before, and many of you have heard the Chicago dream. I'm not going to rehearse the whole dream this morning. I just want us to reflect. In that dream, I'm dragging a sack, and it's filled and overflowing with all the past mistakes and pains and hurts. What are you dragging around? When you're not performing or you're not following through, what excuses are you using? That's what those things are. There are reasons. I'm going to invite you this morning to be extremely courageous, to empty your sack, and to pick up the single most painful item. In the dream, these were silver orbs with spikes on them. People have called them spiky balls. I picked up my spiky ball. Pick up your most painful spiky ball. It doesn't need to be earth-shattering. It could be something a fifth grade teacher said to you you've been carrying around your whole life. It might be, I had the most precious conversation of the day with a professional. And one of the balls in this person's sack was her father's disdain for her becoming a health coach when she's professionally trained. Add to that the fact that she loves God. And he doesn't believe there's one. That's a spiky ball. That can be a really painful one in a family relationship. It doesn't need to be child abuse or bankruptcy. It could be those things too, but it doesn't need to be. It's anything that's weighing on us that keeps us and holds us back from choosing to be the boss, hiring ourselves and improving. What is that? Just hold it for a minute. Anyone else suffering from a similar wound? Is there? Yeah, there is. Okay. This has been such a burden for so long. I'm going to choose to become the boss. And I'm going to choose to take this experience and I'm going to engrave it on my heart. And I'm going to use it as a lens through which I will see all those people in that 10-mile radius who were crying last night, crying out for help. Although in public, you'll never see the cry. You'll only see the clothes trying to make them look skinnier. And I'm going to step into their world and I'm going to listen. I'll give you those steps in a moment. But I'm going to shift from focusing on my challenges in my sack and having them as reasons and excuses, and I'm now going to use them to connect and serve with people. And when my heart is pounding and my breathing is accelerated, I'm going to take this and I'm going to listen with even more intention. I'm going to be drawn even more to those who are having struggles and pain, because you can see things nobody else can see because of what you've been through. You'll hear things nobody else is listening for. And you can ask empathetic questions nobody's thought of. Imagine asking a doctor, how much does your credential protect you from having to deal with this issue? Doctor can ask that to a doctor. How often do you find yourself going, I'm just a script writer. I just write scripts all day. This antibiotic, that antibiotic. I'm in sick care. That's for the professional. For a mom, how long have you been hiding? For the mom who loves her children, but wants something more in her life. Her soul is crying for it. Does your soul ever cry out, I love my children, but I feel guilty because I want something more? You ask that question, and somebody's going to go, finally, somebody understands me. What's your spiky ball? Anybody else suffering from a similar wound? You'll be surprised how many, maybe not exactly, but similar. Put it in your heart. Let's use it differently. The greatest challenge with this decision is like choosing to become the boss. When I'm the boss, I can't just goof off. I can't just let life take over. And well, this happened and that happened and this happened. No, I'm in charge of those things. When we choose to take this experience and put it in our heart, we're also choosing to give up all the reasons and excuses. See, as the boss, we don't want them. Our employee may, but I'm going to command, and my employee is going to obey my command, my thought processes. Let's put this in our heart. And let's have it ready and available to serve others. Reflect on whatever that spiky ball may be. If you can hear it, if you go, oh, wow, this has to do with my mother. This has to do with my spouse. This has to do with children. This has to do with finances. This has to do with my physicality. This has to do with, see if you can find what might be going on in this thing that you've been dragging around, this heavy thing that just, you haven't been able to let it go. Maybe you thought you couldn't let it go. Now it's going to be in your heart. In the dream, just before I turned around to face someone who was walking toward me, this is what I was told. David, your character is forged in the furnace of adversity. Carrie, Laura, Brooke, Alex, Marnie, Jennifer, Lisa. I can see those right now. Meredith, Stephen, Yvonne. Your character was forged in the furnace of adversity. You know what pain feels like. Can you take it back? Can you go back in time? Of course not. But you can choose to use those experiences as a rich resource to better understand what somebody else is going through. And if you'll choose to do this, there can finally be purpose in that suffering. That which is so awful can be valuable. There can be joy in your journey. And the joy comes when you take down someone's walls of resistance and the cooperation floods out to you. Their energy floods out to you. Fills that void in our soul. And then much needed healing in your heart. If you're carrying something that's been painful, that doesn't make any sense at all, don't try to find sense in it. Simply use it to better understand what somebody else might be going through, and there's finally purpose in the suffering. There may never be meaning in it, but there'll be purpose in it, and you'll have joy using it that way and much needed healing in your soul. Now, as we're doing this, and as we're adopting this agape love, this heightened level of awareness, we become very aware that this caring about another human being, instead of being occupied by us and then trying to care enough to build a business, taking all this and putting it in our heart and totally being in the caring business. Caring can't be faked. It just can't be faked. I love a lot of things about Take Shape for Life, but one of them is you don't need to fake caring. You actually can care because you can deliver the goods. You can actually care. Everybody's got mirror neurons. You've got them. If we step into a conversation and we're not being genuine and authentic, somebody's mirror neurons pick that up. Sends a message to their brain and molecules to their body, and they feel uncomfortable, and it all happens before they have a conscious thought. It's that quick. That's why Og says in Scroll 2, I will say silently to myself, I love you. Let wrinkle my brow, bring a smile to my lips, and echo in my voice. And who is there who will not buy my goods when his heart feels my love? When we show up really caring, when we show up with those experiences in our heart, we show up being the boss, choosing to hire ourselves and improving. It's discernible. It's discernible. That means somebody's mirror neurons can pick up the tone and tenor of your voice, the posture of your body, the facial muscles, send a message to their brain, and they are attracted to you. That's the law of attraction. It's simply the positive enforcement from a mirror neuron. Because when that molecule goes down to the cell of the body and connects onto that little receptor, that little sugar fiber, sends a message, it's not a fluid exchange, it's an energy exchange. It is energy. But that's how it's generated. The way we show up, a person's mirror neurons read. Message to the brain, molecules to the body, message to the cells. And who is there who will not buy my goods when his heart feels my love? We get to be in the caring business. To be in the caring business. Agape love. Taking our experiences that have been so painful, so burdensome, and use them to bless other people's lives. I'll get more specific with this in a few moments. Some examples. Last piece. Everybody's got a wall of resistance. Everybody's got one. Except for in one place. If we have any physicians on today, the only place I've seen in my life experience where there is not a wall is in a doctor's office. A doctor can walk into a patient they've never seen before and tell them to take their clothes off because they need to examine them, and they will. There's perfect trust. That's what we're trying to create with the connection, is trust. Now, for a physician who then becomes a Take Shape for Life coach, oh my goodness, they get to experience what the rest of us experience all the time. person's wall of resistance. When they stop being doctor and become coach, they're now subject to normal human interaction. The credential is not being brought into the coach, because the credential creates the trust. The credential creates the trust initially. Here, the health coach creates the trust in the connection process. For professionals, this is the greatest challenge, is living in a world without walls. The doctor can walk into a wine tasting and they'll ask for their opinion, assuming they know the answer to everything. They don't deal with walls. But when they step out here, they do. The rest of us do all the time. And the research tells us that behind that wall, a person's wall, is on average 40% of their energy and productive cooperation. Productive cooperation. The very thing you'll need from them to share with them, to enroll them and bless their life. 40%. Research was done in a non-adversarial relationship. So you can only imagine if we don't have a relationship and we just show up in credential breath or commission breath or burdened by all of our stuff, trying to do it with all this anxiety and their mirror neurons are picking it up, all we're doing is driving the wall up. That's all we're doing. But I'll give you the principles, practices, and processes in a moment. We're taking this wall down. It's relatively easy to do. We just make it complicated by our agenda, by our credential, by our baggage we've been dragging around. We're the ones that make it complicated. Let's take all that away. Let's get this stuff out of our bag. Let's get it in our heart so that we can show up in service. Let's make the choice to become the boss, the choice to hire ourselves, the choice to improve ourselves, to override dialogue that might be getting in the way so that we can address this wall. Because if we don't, there's two things we'll do. One, we'll throw up all over people's walls. Blah, 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 blah. And they'll splash back. That vomit tastes awful. It's called rejection. Project, reject. Or we'll use a sledgehammer. Try to break it down by force. Anog says, muscle can split a shield and even destroy life, but only the unseen power of love, agape love, can open the heart. And until I master this art, I'm no more than a peddler in the marketplace. I'm going to show you the art. Before I do, I want to emphasize two pieces. One for perfectionists. What I share with you, just the decision to do this, separates you from almost all living creatures, human beings. You become so rare just by making the decision to do this. It's not how well you do it, just doing it. So no matter how poorly you do it at first, it may be the best experience they've ever had. That's one. Two, you'll be able to master this over time and get better and better at it. And it just becomes increasingly effective. Lastly, the only thing that stops you from perfecting this principle and this practice I'm about to share with you is your own internal dialogue. Yeah, that one you're going to hire. That is what's in the way. As we focus on improving this, the art of connection becomes easier and easier. It's not complicated. It only becomes complicated by our dialogue. So when I share this with you, don't go, what do I do? All we do is focus on the dialogue. Let's get the dialogue in order. Let's get this stuff out of our sack into our heart and show up in service. And let's care enough to actually start practicing connection. We'll get better as we shut off unhealthy habits of thinking. we'll get better. So here are a couple of things. Here's number one. To get out of our own shell, our own fear and doubt, we want to start with something relatively simple. We want to start noticing other people. Now, we want to be careful with this one, because if we have any tendency in self-esteem to compare, we might have a tendency to compare our worst with someone else's best and feel less than. In an attempt to feel better, we might compare what we have with someone who has less than to feel better about ourselves. That's common. This is not either one of those. This is noticing what's important to them. What's important to them? In my book, I talk a lot about tattoos because I don't have any. I find it fascinating that people spend a lot of money to put art on their body. And if someone's going to spend that kind of money to put that on their arm, their shoulder, whatever, that's worth asking about. That's worth noticing. Free of prejudice, bias, judgment. Someone's got a really cool pair of glasses that just make their face light up. That's something worth noticing. Someone has a temporary sticker in the back window of their car. No matter how old it is, whether we would want the car or not, can we notice how important it is to them? Can we start noticing? It takes us outside of ourselves. So this week, it's 10,000 people. When you're out and about, and be out and about a whole lot more, start noticing. And notice what's important to someone, and know two things. One, it probably won't be important to you. That's really a key. And two, at first you might feel a little phony. It's not phony. It's called awareness. It's awareness. Your heart might pump a little bit. You might breathe a little harder in this process, feel a little uncomfortable. Take courage. Let that take. This is a good thing because you are breaking out of your shell. You are noticing another human being. So number one, we want to start noticing everyone. Just notice what's important. And when you see it, verbalize it. Verbalize it. Is it going to be uncomfortable? It could be for some of us. It could be for some of us, especially those of us who are introverted. Because we're observers, but we don't break out and talk very much. But verbalize. It's important that you verbalize what you see. So that's number one. So this week we want to start noticing everyone. Notice what they do that's good. Notice what's important to them. Say a lot to a lot of people. Noticing. You'll start to feel a little bit more connected. You'll feel a little bit more drawn. You'll find a little bit more joy. Conversations will start to unfold. That's number one. Number two, and this ought to be an absolute gigantic relief for all the introverts. And I want to share a statistic with you. Of the 1,900 coaches that Take Shape for Life for whom we have assessments, we have estimated that somewhere between 80 and 85% are naturally introverted. Susan Cain wrote a great book on this called Quiet. You know, if we're totally introverted, we're probably in a hospital. Totally extroverted, we're probably in a hospital. There's a line in between the two. Which way do we lean? You extroverted leaders, smile for a moment. Conservatively, 80% of your teams are introverted. The great news for an introvert, you're more naturally adapted to what I'm about to tell you. This is the hardest thing for an extrovert to do. What is it? We're going to start listening. Listening. And not to create a response. We're going to clear our mind. No advice, no judgment, no agenda. Other than we're listening to understand where they are. Just listening to understand. Feel that. It's so simple. You mean I don't have to do anything? No. Well, yeah. I have a journal. My journal's packed with what? Little verbal hints about what someone is saying. Ooh, I wonder what that meant. They ask me, what are you doing? I'm writing down those things I think are important to you. A minute ago, you mentioned something about your 16-year-old. Is there anything about your 16-year-old that would be important for me to know? You watch that wall come down. You watch them share. This happens all the time. Many of you have had this experience intuitively. We're going to do it more intentionally. You're sitting in the airport, someone next to you, you start listening, and you hear these words, I've never told anybody this, but, and they tell you, perfect stranger. You've had this experience, many of you. You're too empathetic. Because almost 100% of Take Shape for Life coaches have empathy off the charts. And by the way, you're just not accessing it because of this dialogue, this unhealthy dialogue about, I'm not worthy, I'm not worth it, I don't have the ability, my contribution isn't enough, I'm not well educated. Whatever the dialogue might be, it's keeping us from this. So that's why we're going to listen to this and shut it off. And we're going to start noticing, and then we're going to start listening with a journal in our hands and take notes. On a Zoom call, take notes. Just take notes. And what are you taking notes? The most important note you'll take is a verbal hint that you heard. I've had kind of a rough week. We normally want to respond, me too. This week we're going to say, tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. We'll write down those little verbal hints. Come back and explore them. Ooh, a minute ago you mentioned something about your daughter needing braces. Tell me a little bit about that. Any anxiety about what they want to charge you for it and how you're going to pay for it? Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. It's the last thing we needed right now. It's good information. Write down those verbal hints. You see, our advice and our wisdom and our education and our credentialing are not the gift we bring to Take Shape for Life. The single greatest gift we give a human being is for them to feel understood. They matter. Go back to those people in the 10-mile radius. When they went to sleep last night, did they feel like they mattered? When they looked in the mirror this morning, did they feel like they mattered? When they're trying to dress and go out into public and they get that kind of a look. And when you are not in condition, you get the look. And whether it's intended to reflect on what you look like, we'd be less concerned about what people think about us if we knew how little they actually do. But we read it nonetheless because of our dialogue. Is they think I'm fat. They think I'm ugly. They don't think I'm worth it. Then a Take Shape for Life coach comes along, simply listens. Can you imagine the gift you're giving? I'm listening. I want to understand where you are. When they get done talking, we just lean in. They won't know what to do because nobody's listened to them. I can promise you. This could be the very first time in their life someone's actually done it. No matter how poorly you do it, it could be the first time, and you're just listening. They say, what are you doing? I'm just listening. Wow. Watch them shift. It's like their brain, other side. And they open up a little bit more. Ooh, write more hints. Tell me more about this. Share with me about that. And the more comfortable they become, because caring can't be faked, they can feel it. They start to, they won't be conscious. It's subconscious. They start to feel more comfortable. What's happening? Trust is being built. Sacred trust. Sacred trust. They've shared with us. The third thing we want to do is ask some empathetic questions, born out of our own life experience. Now, if you can't think of a question, Don't try to make one up. You just know you don't quite yet understand. So explore some more of those verbal hints. See if you can get a little deeper. Oh my goodness. That dialogue you're having with yourself, this is an empathetic question, by the way. That dialogue you're having with yourself, does it ever want you to seek approval? Does it want you to be liked? You don't want to offend anybody, you don't want to hurt anybody, so you just kind of go along with everybody. You ever feel that? Oh, man, yes. How long have you been hiding? How do you know to ask that question? If you've been hiding, you know what it feels like to hide. You took that out of your sack, you put it in your heart, you know to ask the question. Just trust your heart. This isn't intellectual. This isn't an exercise in technique. This is simply you feeling what they're experiencing and going, wow, I felt that. Because you now own, it's engraved on your heart. It's become part of your character. You own how it felt. You have a reference point. Wow. I wrote in the book, one question to a person in tremendous pain. How seriously are you considering suicide? Tearful response, it's all I'm thinking about. Wow. This is where Take Shape for Life should be occurring, in this space. It's worthy of it. It's worthy of you noticing, verbalizing. It's worthy of you listening, writing those little verbal hints. It's worthy of you beginning to understand where they are, knowing you're only partway there. Now you want to ask empathetic questions that validate you do understand. I asked Ramona a question last night. She said, well, that's not quite like that. And so I said to her, well, how does it work for you? And she just told me. She opened right up and shared. I wasn't too far off. I just wasn't exact. But my empathetic question got us talking even deeper. I want to stay in that space. Because once they feel understood, there is no more need for a wall. Og says, I'll take down this wall of hate and suspicion which they built around their hearts. And in its place, I will build a bridge so that my love can enter their soul. You feel that? Walls are now down. Now just be conscious. Is this a good time? Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't let this dialogue talk you out of it. I will command and I will obey my own command. Is this the right time? Do I have something of value for them? Are they ready to hear it? If so, then courageously share. You'll never want to use this concept called intrinsic validation as an excuse for being soft. It has nothing to do with warm and fuzzy. It has everything to do with dead accuracy. You are crystal clear where they are. You have demonstrated you know they feel understood. In that moment, you may discover this is not someone that you want as a client. They're not ready. Or this is a client that may not be ready to be a coach. But if they are, courageously share. A few moments ago, you shared this and this. You know, I think I have an idea. I would just love to share with you. This is when we pick up our agenda, our Take Shape for Life agenda. Till then, there's no reason for it because the whole agenda is getting the wall down. So you can have this conversation. And then we get to share. As you get better at this, you'll have fewer objections because you'll more courageously address them when you're stepping into their world. But should you get one, don't answer the objection. Objections aren't questions that demand answers. Objections are statements that demand a question. Start back over again. Step back into the world. Tell me more about that. How long has that been around? What impact has it had on your life? Are you ready to get rid of that one? Maybe not. But if so, let's move forward. Be courageous. And the truth is, in the end, some are going to need a little gentle push. They'll be forever grateful that you did. My coach, Gwen Peterson, it wasn't a gentle push, it was a 2x4. She just finally said, look, I care about your health. I'm worried about your health. What else can I do? Well, let's do it. Can you imagine? I was 257 pounds. I just finished writing 2 books. I was in bad shape. I was a linebacker in college, for heaven's sake. This used to be up here. I'll be forever grateful that Gwen Peterson had the courage to push me in that moment. She wasn't warm and fuzzy. She was clear and accurate because she had chosen to be the boss. She had chosen to hire herself and override her fears. She spoke boldly, clearly, and I was not offended because she loved me enough to take the wall down first. This is intrinsic validation. This is connection with people. It's not complicated. It's only complicated if we haven't chosen to be the boss. It's only complicated if we haven't chosen to hire ourselves and improve this dialogue. It's what's going to be in the way. It's going to stop us from taking these things, engraving them on our heart, and showing up, focused on another person, noticing what's important to them and verbalizing it. Listening to understand. Asking empathetic questions to demonstrate we do till they feel understood, and having walls come down. And then determining if this is something that would be beneficial. We generally go in these conversations believing they should have it, they're overweight, this is their solution, and everything is about selling them. That's throw up. You may have the very best program in the world, but if you're presenting it to someone's wall, it will splash back. And the only time it won't is when you're dealing with a weak person. And if you get a weak person on program, they won't return your phone call. And if you take a weak person and have them become a coach, you're going to invest a tremendous amount of time in someone who has no interest. You don't want weak people. You want strong people. And this is how you connect with a strong person. And it's not complicated. It just takes a shift from agenda-driven energy, commission-driven energy, fear-driven energy, to I'm just going to care. And I'm going to bring my life experiences along with me to help me serve them. And I'm going to create trust with them. It may not happen in one conversation. I'm going to build a relationship with them. And when that wall does finally come down, Zarg says, you can melt all hearts, likened to the sun whose rays soften the coldest clay. I'll use this as my greatest weapon, and none on whom I call can defend against its force. Because you're not faking it. It is a powerful, powerful principle when we use it. Now let me give you a couple specifics. The most difficult connection is a cold connection with someone you do not know. I just want to give you a couple of icebreakers to consider. And your leaders can come up with even better ones than these. But we'll want to have some, knowing that 85%, 80 to 85% of Take Shape for Life coaches are a little introverted. This dialogue is just crushing in terms of getting outside myself to have this conversation. I have one coach, I had to create a business card, before and after picture. Said, know where you are. If I can serve you in any way, please let me know. It's an icebreaker. It doesn't require, you still have to give it to them, the action. You know what's fun about this action? I'll give you the hint in scroll number 9. He said, my procrastination, which has held me back, is born of fear. Yeah, no kidding. But he said, I've learned this secret. We want to know what it is, but I've learned this secret, mined from the depths of all courageous hearts. That's almost like saying two words that are the same. Core, heart, heart of hearts, the depths of the heart, the deepest part of someone's heart. This is what he's learned. I must act without hesitation, and the flutters in my heart will vanish. Now I know that action reduces the lion of terror to an ant of equanimity, meaning peace of mind. One of the most exciting parts about Take Shape for Life, I've got lots of them, but here's one of them. When you take action to overcome this fear, you will see the fear dissipate. Yes, it will become easier to do. That lion of terror will turn into an ant of equanimity, because what you're doing is worthy. It's good. If you were trying to fake caring and you had to overcome this, your intuition, because you've got such high empathy, your intuition would make you feel icky. Your mirror neurons would pick up their discomfort and you'll feel icky, the kind of icky you can't wash off in a shower. That's the indication. When you're doing something and you keep doing it and you still feel awful, you need to change how you're doing it or change what you're doing. Take Shape for Life, if you're going to care about people, and that's really your intention, and you've taken those things out of the sack and put it in your heart, and you want to develop a relationship, create trust, take down walls, and serve, as you take these actions, they will become easier. Will it be fearful at first? Absolutely. But do you see that stress is helpful or harmful? You see it as harmful, you won't do it. See it as helpful, you will do it. And when you do it, it gets easier. I hope I'm making that point. I'm kind of driving it home a little bit. So hand the card out. Are you really courageous? I've got one for you. Maybe you're sitting in an office somewhere or standing in a bank line. And clearly someone needs the program, physically. Now you don't know what food allergies they have, what challenges they're facing, you don't know. But there's a good chance when someone's overweight, they would feel better if they weren't. Hi, I'm Dave. Oh, I'm Alice. Hi, Alice. How are you today? Great. Alice, this morning when I woke up, I had a prayer in my heart. That prayer was, if there's anyone I can serve, put them on my path, and I'll serve them. And I've been looking all day for that person. When there's someone I can serve, you see, I used to weigh 42 more pounds than I do now. And I tried everything. Nothing worked. Not sustainable. I can't tell you what this feels like. My only question to you, if I may ask you just one, will you put on my path? Why do I know this is important? Good morning, Stan. Stan is reported is at 100 pounds now. I shared this before. Jan Paxman notices, gets an impression, walks out. She commands and obeys her own command, walks back in, sits down with Stan, has a conversation. He got on program. This is a giant of a man, incredible personality, beautiful human being. You all have stories like this. Stan stood up at the homestead and said, please offend us, please offend us. Basically saying, no matter how I react, know my heart is crying out for an answer. Even if I don't sound like it, trust that I do. Were you put on my path? Empathetic questions. They can't be scripted. They'll come out of your own life experience, and they come from an awareness that I want to be the boss. I'm hearing my dialogue. I know where that came from. Ooh, that was my mom. She was a perfectionist, so I'm now a perfectionist to do everything right. That might be the case for some. Or this happened, and it just left me devastated as a child. It might be something else. Get really in touch with those things that are in your sack. You might want some stillness time. There's a great book called Going Deep. Have some deep time. This isn't to rehash. This isn't to stir the muddy waters. This is to hear what's in that sack. Because until you hear it, it's going to continue to weigh on you. Because your intention this time is not to feel sorry for yourself or be burdened by it or go into victimhood. It's not any of that. Your desire right now is to hear it, so you've got one more arrow in your quiver of empathy. Listen, oh my goodness, that's really been wearing on me. I wonder how long that's been there. Listen when you look in the mirror in the morning, especially if you've lost weight and put it back on. I've shared this with you before when I've spoken. I'm looking in the mirror one morning. I made a decision that just didn't work out very well. And I said, David, you are so stupid. And I heard it. I heard it. And when I heard it reverberate back for decades. Decades. Not only am I going to make the choice not to ever say that to myself again, I have a new empathetic arrow. When you make a mistake, do you ever say to yourself, oh, that was so stupid? Yeah. How long have you been saying that to yourself? Long time. That's where the questions come from. They come from the life experience. If you've ever lost a job, lost a puppy, lost a relationship, if you've ever loaned money and not been paid back, if you've ever had a dream and then had life dash that dream on the rocky shoals of life, if you've ever had that experience, you know what it feels like. I was doing an interview yesterday for a hire for a major corporation, for their CEO. Not their CEO, but I was doing this as an interview for my client who's the CEO. And this gentleman had a business that was in trouble, but he had a vision for $1 billion exit plan in a company. And everything was in place, apparently. The banking, the people, everything was there when he engaged. And it all slowly fell apart. And I asked him, does it ever feel like that dream was cut out of your heart with a dull knife? And there was a cathartic laugh. And he said, no, actually more like a spoon. We were buddies. Because he knew, I knew where he was. I cared enough to find out. It came out of my life experience. What is yours? Those are the questions. But those only occur if we're listening to understand. We're writing down those little verbal hints. Tell me more about this one. Tell me more about that one. Does it ever feel like that dream's been cut out of your heart with a dull knife? No, actually a spoon. Are you thinking about this new job as a rebound from that? Because there won't be that high of an economic return, but there'll be a great opportunity to bring your skill set for creativity. Which is more important to you, creativity or the money? The creativity. go very deep, very quick when we are listening. And we can pull on our own empathy in that discussion. Housewives, moms. Yeah, best ask that question. I'm going to come back to it. Do you ever feel guilty about wanting more? Do you ever feel like this is never ending? And you may not make it? Do you ever feel like your husband's losing interest in you because you've had a couple children and your body's changed? Put on this weight and couldn't take it off. Some of those are personal, but if you're listening and you're hearing verbal hints that can guide you to empathetic questions, you go in this space. Because here's what I want to conclude. For someone to get on program, when they might say, I want to lose 20 pounds for my class reunion. Yeah. But what's the real reason? It's how they're going to feel at the class reunion if they don't, because that's how they feel now. And how does that impact their current life? You are stepping into their personal dialogue. Do you care enough to ask them about it? Because you know what it's like to have the dialogue. You know, sometimes I say to myself the following. Have you ever said something like that to yourself? Because the decision to get on program, stay on program, be committed to program is born out of a dialogue with someone about this very space you're working to improve. Born out of your own life experiences. When you have someone who is a client who's considering coaching, setting the expectation properly. You don't want to overwhelm them with stress, but you do want to encourage them. Encourage, add to their courage. You're about to take on a really worthwhile journey with tremendous meaning. Do you think it's going to be without challenges? See, I think good people respond to a challenge. You want to say, oh, you're going to be overwhelmed and discouraged and you're going to have any time for your family. You don't want to go there. Because if that's how you're viewing stress, you want to make that shift because that dialogue's killing your business. But you want to encourage them to embrace the stress. There are going to be times when your heart's pounding and you're breathing. And look at that as a helpful thing. You are taking on courage, the same response you have when you are experiencing joy. Take the action. The fear will go away. Because you want to acquire ever-increasing levels of ability to handle ever-increasing levels of responsibility, which is really stress, with ever-increasing levels of ease. Invite them to the journey of entrepreneurship. Invite them to wake up. Invite them to engage in life and embrace these principles and connect and serve and create value and contribute and live a life of significance. That's what we're inviting them to. And when they become their own boss and they become the one who hires themselves, and when they choose to do that improvement, they will be forever grateful. Forever grateful. Okay. One last thing, and then I want to open it up for Terry and Brian to give us some guidance on any questions that someone might be asking. I said to you earlier that when Ramona and I talk, and she needs to get regrounded, or I need to get regrounded, where do we go? We go to the principles of intentional creation. We go to this dialogue to see what's showing up and what needs to be shifted. Because when we radically alter this, everything else shifts. We know that from doing it time and time again. Well, why do you have to do it time and time again? We're human, for heaven's sake. Life shows up. We all are constantly making this decision to be the boss, to hire ourselves, and to shift it. Ramona and I have each other. It's beautiful. I teach these principles. It's helpful. But we made a decision a few months ago as a company to make these principles available to everyone. You can go on ogmandino.com and take a free assessment. Spend time with it. You can ask for a free 15-minute consult if you'd like to have someone just walk you through some of the pieces. Well, there's a purpose behind that. It's not just free. We'd like to show you what we do. You can download Og Mandino's 10 scrolls. I've been quoting them throughout this presentation. You can download the audio for that for free and listen to it. Incorporate it in your life. You can also watch the 3-part program on the 3 strengths that'll blow your life apart. And I've talked about a couple of them today. Go in there and listen to that program and go, oh my goodness, yes, I've been letting this dialogue blow my life apart. I'm going to choose differently. Now, we also do coaching. But we don't want someone engaging in personal coaching until their business is sufficiently strong to pay for the coaching out of their revenue stream. So that leaves us a big gap. How do we solve that problem? So we created an Og Vault. I'm going to tell you briefly about it and tell you where to go look for it. The Og Vault is all 6 qualities of an intentional creator. New monthly video training programs every month, and frankly, quite often driven by some of the experience that we're having with Take Shape for Life coaches. Og Mandino narrating the scrolls, my breakthroughs on the scrolls, very rich content. You get that, but that alone is not enough. You need to have coaching. So we decided to do a Tuesday coaching call. On Tuesday, Paul, at 12 o'clock noon, has a group call. Everybody comes on and he teaches a principle out of the vault. And then he stays on and answers all the questions. Now, I want you to go to the Og Vault. There's no commitment to do anything. Just go the Og Vault, O-G, theogvault.com, and read about it. See if that's something that could help you stay grounded on a daily basis. Those audios can be downloaded to your phone. There's a whole hour section on connection with people and all of these pieces broken down a little deeper so you can explore them. Have them in front of you all the time, getting grounded. But don't buy it on the website, don't. Because it's $9.95 and $50 a month, and right now we've got a 50% offer at $4.99 and $19.95 a month online. But don't do that, because we want to give the Take Shape for Life coaches an additional 40% off. So go read about it. If it's something you would like, here's what you do. Send an email to Nikki, N-I-K-I. There's not 2 Ks, just one. N-I-K-I at ogmandino.com, or send it to me, Dave at ogmandino.com. Say, I want the vault. Give me your phone number, and we'll have somebody from our staff call you, get you enrolled, and get you on the next Tuesday call. We want this to be so affordable that everybody can have one. So you have the principles. You can go to them and get re-grounded. I don't want to make a big sales promotion. That's not what this is about this morning. But remember, my mission is to heal torn bodies and torn minds. I hope what we do in these sessions is valuable. But I want these principles in your life every day so that you're the boss. And as you're making this choice, you hear it and you've got something to do to help you overcome this thought process so you can be in this observer chair more frequently and for longer periods of time. Okay, I want to turn this back to Terry or Brian. I've just been glancing over here occasionally at what's happening.
Hey, Dave.
Anybody catch a question we want to explore?
I'm looking over here to make sure to see if there's any questions, but a lot of people excited. That's for sure. And a lot of people that are talking about, I guess we got a lot of people that are already using the Og Vault. And And I just like to say, I love what you talked about today, Dave. Lots of notes. I know lots of people have been listening intently, and I can see by some of the responses over here.
I'm going to glance at them while you're talking.
Yeah, let's see here. They wanted you to repeat the emails. And
Okay. I'll type them in so they can see them.
Yeah, that'd be great.
N-I-K-I. Okay.
That'd be great. And you know, I've been working with Dave for a while now, and I will tell you, you know, when he's talking about observing people, you know, listening to them, asking empathetic questions, not making it about you, he's a master at this. So I just want to make that plug because he's very good at this. And in fact, I hope to be as good of a listener as Dave one day. And my wife does too. My wife actually works with him a little bit. So, and Dave knows this. But building relationships with people, a relationship of trust, what Dave was talking about, and really finding out, you know, what they want first is obviously key number one, and their why, instead of what'd you say, verbal vomiting over somebody. And I know a lot of new coaches do that. I know I did. I still sometimes find myself doing that once in a while, but I try to catch myself. But I think, let's see, I'm looking at some of the other things over here to make sure.
I just sent the email where you can take the assessment as well, so
Okay.
they have that.
And by the way, the assessment is great. You know, he says there are a few things on there that are free that I would recommend everybody getting anyway. Just go take the assessment. It's amazing how right on the assessment is. I will tell you this, and I had my kids take the assessment, and one of my kids, Jerry, he's my oldest. He's sometimes he can be a little challenging for me, but Dave actually talked to him a few times, and he said he took the assessment. He goes, that's not me. I go, just have Dave talk to you for a minute. Then he goes, oh, okay, I guess there's a few things in there that I guess it is right. But anyway,
and he's amazing.
It's so anyway, I just love this stuff, Dave. By the way, Dave was able to show me a little sneak peek of his new book, and I'm excited about that one. I mean, I've read you know, both of Dave's books, and someone was asking about the books, and I think if you get the Ogval, I think you get the books with that, right, Dave?
Yeah, they come with it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So today I begin a new day in the observer's chair. I've read both of those, and those of you that know me, I'm not a big reader. I do listen to audio of books and stuff, but I'm not a real big reader. But I read both of those, and I think I read a couple of them a couple times. And his new one's going to be great too, from what I can see. Also, the video that Dave talked about from Kelly on online, that it's like a 15-minute video. I would recommend definitely listening to that. I listened to that last night on stress and how important it is actually to have stress. It's kind of a breath of
I'll type that one in so everybody knows.
do that. I know it was typed in earlier too, but do that. I think somebody sent even the link. And then also, what was the other thing? Oh, I'm looking forward to watching that movie, Dave. Joy.
Yeah, Joy. Oh my goodness, it's really quirky, but oh my goodness, it'll rattle your soul a little bit.
I always like good movies, and especially things that are inspiring, and how people overcome things. You know, embracing the challenges and working through things, the voices in their heads. And I love when you talk about all the things that you talk about in the first book that I read, with your challenges and the dream you had, because that to me is so powerful. People don't understand that the challenges they're going through are actually there to benefit them. It's like, I love that, because, and I bring that up every time someone actually brings me a challenge. It's like, well, great. I'm glad you have a challenge, because you're going to be able to help so many people. So anyway.
Brian, could I give just a little glimpse of our next session?
Yes.
Question for some of you. We have so many natural nurturers in Take Shape for Life. It's a beautiful thing. They just love to love people. In the mathematics of axiological math, Cantor's transfinite calculus, the top three measurements are intrinsically valuing people, intrinsically valuing something that inspires you, that you're creating, and intrinsically valuing structure. In our next session, I want to put you through a process to identify those things that you intrinsically value that will encourage you to stretch and grow and become even better at intrinsic validation, because it's number one, honoring the people. It'll never be number two. But creating your dreams is number two. We can't just say, I love people and not be focused on building a business, because it doesn't make sense. We're violating a principle. If we're not building a business, the truth is we're not talking to people. We're using our why as an excuse for not doing that. So we want to know how those things fit in place, and we're going to want to know how to find that thing. Because when we find it, it'll light us up. It'll inspire us, encourage us. We'll want to be more abundant. We'll want to embrace structure. Because the bottom line is 93% of Take Shape for Life coaches, it's 93, naturally resist structure. Their reaction to structure resistance, even when the structure is to their benefit. The only way they embrace it, 90%, everybody hear this, especially the leaders, just do this. 90% are naturally going to resist, so they're not going to hear. It's going to shut them down. They'll have a systemic response to it, unless we can show them why the structure helps them create their dream and helps them better serve people.
Wow.
Support mechanism. So let's get that in order next time. That's going to be our next session.
Hey, Dave, I'm so looking forward to that session, because I love talking about this, because people get hung up on things, and they're not really creating a business for themselves. They're, because they're hung up on some of this stuff. And in your new book, I just want to say one line that really got me, and I wrote it down here. Entrepreneurs, talking about entrepreneurs, says they have a dream board, but it's a target, not a mental destination. I love that. And that's what you're talking about right now, that you're going to talk about in the next session that we do next month. So thank you so much, Dave, for doing this. And I'm sure, I know everybody's saying all kinds of great things about what's happened today. But it's awesome. So thank you so much.
I'm going to be with you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And thanks, Troy, for recording this. I know we're going to be sending this recording out, and Terry may just be on the road. I don't know, but I know she's busy preparing for this whole week they're going to do up in Yellowstone. So, because she gets to,
Yeah. Wow.
because of what she's built and what she's done. And, it's what anybody else on this line can do as well. And we have a great future ahead of us. Dave talked about that at the beginning of this a little bit. It is so powerful what we have coming, what we have in our hands right now. And it's what we've been waiting, those of us that have been around for almost 15 years now, but what we've been waiting for that long. And it's going to be amazing how we come into the world. And you want to be ready. So learn this stuff that Dave's talking about, and work with your mentors, and make sure you're utilizing all these tools. And Dave talked about structure. I'm one to resist structure. I'm working on that. But I'll tell you what, the people that are embracing the structure that we have now, that we are doing, are growing. The people that are not, period. So get with the plan.
And we'll give them a good reason next time to do it, right?
Anyway, thanks. Hey, Dave, and by the way, I'm down 10 as well.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's awesome. Anyway, get with it, and I hope you guys have a great weekend, and thank you so much again, Dave, for being with us today.
Thank you all. Thanks. Bye-bye.